Comadres. Welcome to another episode of Comadreando podcast. Today, I am with a very special guest. I am your host, Marcy, and my guest name is Victoria. I will let her introduce herself. Who are you?
Hi, everybody. Saludos a todos. Well, my name is Vicky, Vicky Cepeda, and I am a mom. I'm a mom. I'm a, full-time employed corporate employee as well. But, as a matter of fact, my proudest accomplishment is being a mom.
Oh,
And I just happened to write a book, and I want to tell everyone about it.
amazing. So, the way that I connected with Victoria, we were not following each other on Instagram. I was actually, I'm friends with Angie from Dominican Writers Association, and she sent me one of your posts about the book, about JJ and Frijolito, and she was like, I'm having a live with her on March 27th. She's also a Dominican mom, and she is raising a child with autism, and she's bringing awareness. And I was like, oh my God, let me follow her. So I started following your account. And then I asked Angie, I was like, do you think she'll come on the show to talk about the book and her experiences? And she's
Of
like, yeah,
course.
send her a
Of
message and
course.
see. So I decided to send you a message de fresca, and you said yes.
Well, good. Perfecto. Me gusta fresqueando. Estaba bien.
So today's topic is the importance of representation in literature with respect to autism awareness, especially in our communities of color. I feel like the common thread of this season has been representation and telling our stories.
Indeed.
And the reason why the topic is always coming up is that we are doing the work right now of putting our stories out there and letting other families know, especially Latino families, that it's okay and it will be okay, even if it's not okay right now. So,
Absolutely.
especially after what happened this week with Ryan Gaynor, I feel that our stories need to be told more, especially as people of color, because a lot of the time the stories that are highlighted are not stories of the people that look like us or that sound like us. So, tell us a little bit more about your profession.
Sure. So, long story short, I'm a corporate warrior by day, and allows me to fuel my creativity and fund as well my creativity, and be able to give back to my community and utilize and leveraging my talents, which have always been writing, volunteering, um, you know, giving voices to those that don't have it. So it's technical project management, technology, banking, kind of like a typical environment for a lot of people around here. And when we talk about representation, also, I'm proud to say that, at work, I'm one of the few Latinas that are in management, and, actually I think I'm one of four. And, it's predominantly male, maybe 20% female. So therefore, um, I'm happy to be in the profession because I'm breaking barriers everywhere and representing Dominicans.
I love that. I was telling Vicky, when we were touching base before we decided to record the episode, was that we have that in common too. So I was in banking itself. I was in
Yes.
retail banking for a little bit. I did my stint of like 4 years, and then I burnt out and I decided to go back to school. But we have that in common as well. And the reason why I decided to go back to school is really my son's diagnosis, because I felt that in retail banking at that time, I didn't have the space or the time
Flexibility.
to spend time with my son. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was one of
So
the biggest ones for me.
I can understand that because when my son was diagnosed in 13, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I had to request, a flexible schedule. Back
Yeah.
then, it was unheard of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
For the
there was
pandemic.
there was no behavioral insurance. So my husband was the one that really had the insurance. I had the other part and aspect of it. So we had to marry everything, and I had to request flexible, but then work like twice as much. Take my son to therapy, come back, and work until late evenings with my son, in tow at home. So yes, girl, I totally, I actually commend you for finding a path out of this, kind of like a spinning
Hamster
wheel.
wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
It was
good
it
for
was
you.
not easy because when you go from corporate to like regular like public sector, the pay cut was real.
You
Because
feel it.
like
You have to reinvent yourself.
yeah,
Yes.
the pay cut was real, so it was a lot of adjustment on my part. But I feel that you know regardless of what, we're always mothers and we're gonna make it work however we can. And I like commend you for
That's right.
being able to do
That's
that
right.
and balance everything and do the amazing work that you're doing that we're gonna be sharing today. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your childhood and where did you grow up and did that influence your writing?
Well, I grew up in this little island that I adore. I grew up in the Dominican Republic. I was 14 when I landed in JFK,
Mm-hmm.
and I had no way of communication other than my Dominican lingo, right? Which is very, very unique.
Yeah.
Um, and my recollection of my childhood was that my elders provided most of the care.
Yeah.
My mom and my dad worked. And so I learned from them a lot about, financial management, responsibility, chores, tasks. I also had time to play. One of my grandmother, raised animals. So I used to play with the piglets and then run around. So, but I was mischievous, right? I was one of those little girls that, I didn't need a group. I was a loner. And so for some reason, I thought that climbing trees, climbing houses, jumping off bleachers and stuff was fun. And so I cracked my skull one time. I broke my arm around, and I've been through everything. So yeah, I've been mischievous and a loner, but a happy loner.
Yeah.
And my childhood was just full of responsibility as the oldest.
Oh wow. So you're the oldest like me. How was that experience for you?
One more
Like
thing in common. There you go.
the
See,
eldest
that's
daughter of immigrant parents is a hard ¿cómo te
that
digo?
we're
A
born with
very difficult role.
responsibilities.
Yes, yes. Oh
So
my
how was it for
goodness.
you? Do you have brothers or are you all girls?
I no, it's two brothers. So I was talking about it on the episode before the last one, and I was saying how it was very, it was like hard to break my mom in because she came with this like, como te digo, like this mold of how women are supposed to be
Sí,
from
y
home.
los hombres no. Ellos no
Yeah.
limpian, no hacen
Yeah,
nada. Yeah,
exactly. So she
yeah,
came with this mold of how women are supposed to be, and it's not her fault. That's the way that she was raised. But
right.
being like the cycle breaker, breaking generational curses, it's been a lot of work, and I have had to go to therapy to heal the people in my family that don't go to therapy. So like healing myself to
That's a Dominican thing. They don't, therapy is not for them. So,
yeah.
like
So
we
like
have
going
to
to
reinvent that.
yeah.
Yes.
So going to therapy to heal, for the people in my family that don't go to therapy. So I've been that forerunner or like front person in doing all those things. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I feel like it prepared me a lot for the things that we deal with as moms of children with
Absolutely.
autism. So
Absolutely.
I feel that was kind of like my mini training
Yeah, and it made
ahead
you
of time.
resilient. It
Yes.
made you resilient, and the perseverance of, being the oldest as well. It's like, we gotta break through everything,
Yeah.
right? There's no precedence.
Yeah.
So we kind of like have to forge our path. And because we're used to that, we are unfazed by obstacles.
It's true.
So I just feel awesome that, we connected, because one of the things that helps, I guess, is kind of, podcast is chemistry, right? And being able to kind of find things in common with people, and identify in each other, what is our common bond. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's part of like also my story, finding commonalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time we feel that, I don't know, there was a time that I felt very like, oh, I want to be this individual person, right? And I found so much solace and so much love in community and finding those commonalities with between me and other people has
Yeah.
made such a difference. We're not supposed to be doing this this life alone. We're supposed to have community. Our families came from communities, and that is in our ancestry. So
That is
like
correct.
doing this, like kind of like, oh, gung ho, I'm by myself and I'm doing all these things. That's not normal. We're supposed to be in community, and us
It's
doing
gonna
this
burn you
work
out.
now to heal it is so essential and so intrinsic. And it is true. Like if you continue this in people continue this individualistic thought, like they think that they're operating in a vacuum, it does burn you out. It burns you out, and it doesn't help us further our cause as a people.
And also, by, opening up as well, like, one of the challenges I have is that because I'm so busy, I haven't had the opportunity to be as social, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe find you know, great people like you and shows that showcase common, themes that I would find information, right? So when I started in this space, I had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw what you're doing, I was very proud of it, first of all.
Thank you.
Congrats. And your achievement to go for your master's, and take on this advocacy from an informed, perspective. You kind of also, like, are setting a precedent that it's okay to just step off of
Mm-hmm.
what we believe are the standard means of, living and success, right? We
Mm-hmm.
can find success in, bonding with our family, providing them with, that kind of like, okay, mom is here, mom is doing her thing, she's like thriving, and things of the sort. And so that's one of the reasons I created my LLC, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I am, as my side hustle, right? So I want to be able to step into that, space, informed, because I
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to advocate, but I don't want to be from a biased perspective. It's
Yes.
from my experience, but I also want to be open, right? So
Mm-hmm.
by being open is, talking to you, learning from your experience, what you could teach me. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very, very doable, and we do need a community.
Yes.
We come from very strong women, and we have to be able to continue that.
I felt that. Thank you so much for saying
Yeah,
that. So,
yeah.
in that vein of finding community and helping and advocating from a more informed space, I want you to share with the comadres the work that you've been doing volunteering with Autism New Jersey as an ambassador there.
Claro que sí, claro que sí. So Autism New Jersey, I find, is the one organization that helped us the most.
Mm,
So, sitting back in Hackensack, Child Development Center, 2012, 13, we were told, well, this is the Asperger's disorder, and here's the script to get therapy, and,
that's it.
here's a brochure, right? And I'm like, I didn't know what to expect. My boy was like reading. He was like, verbal. He
Mm-hmm.
spoke. He did everything, but he started regressing on certain areas. So that's why we went there, right? He started feeling like no one can come into his space. He started swatting at other kids. So, I said, I gotta learn. In order for me to learn, I have to go to the source.
Mm-hmm.
And Autism New Jersey was the one organization that provided us the most, information in Spanish. So I can share
Mm-hmm.
with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be realistic, for my parents, my mom was like, ese niño no tiene nada. Déjate
Exactly.
de eso.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, he'll outgrow, he'll be okay, maybe, a little bit more structure. And I say, and she would be like, no, tú también mordía y tú también daba cuando estaba chiquita, él igual que tú, so he's just like you. And so I was like, but there's more, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so bringing the literature and being able to inform her on the behaviors that, were giving us that diagnosis, I think helped everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Understand and remove the stigma of disability,
Mm-hmm.
because, right, this is a child, is just a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why set him aside? And the reason I volunteer and continue to volunteer is because Autism New Jersey, whenever I send somebody, anybody that needs help, they're there. They come
Wow.
through. I have people from Salvador recently that came, and they have a child. They lived in Texas. This boy is my son's age. He's asthmatic. He's got all kinds of problems. They couldn't get help in school. I sent
Mm-hmm.
her to Autism New Jersey. Within what? I'm going to say a month and a half, there was a meeting in the school.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're working on his IEP. So what I'm saying is it's an art that comes through. So I'm
Mm.
proud to be, part of whatever that they do, and especially during the ambassadorship month, which is April, as you know.
Wow. I love that. So I actually, when my son was diagnosed back in 2008, people were like, oh no, you should move back to New York City. That's when I moved
¿Verdad?
back. Yo estaba
Mhm.
viviendo in New Jersey the whole time.
Mhm.
And I had moved because we had just finished our lease in the Bronx. And I went to live in the Bronx. I did it for a year. And then I was like, no way. So I decided to move back to New Jersey. And once we got the diagnosis, I was actually working at the bank.
Mhm.
And he started regressing. And I was like, what's going on? So I took him to be
Right.
evaluated. All the services were here in New York City. And people were like, no, the early intervention in New York is so much better. And I was like, is it really though? Because the taxes in New Jersey, we pay a lot of taxes in Jersey. I mean, my mom, you guys pay a lot of taxes in Jersey. So the services I thought would be better, but everybody was like, no, no, no. So I brought him back. But we're ready to go back. I cannot do this New York thing anymore. And I'm glad that Autism
Yeah.
New Jersey is there because I'm definitely going to be relying on them to
And
navigate,
let me know. I'm happy
switching
to help
everything
you.
back. Yeah,
And
switching
I'm
everything
here for
over
you.
there. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
have all my services here. I have respite. I have community habilitation. He goes to a camp that he sleeps away in New Jersey as well. He does all this stuff, and I want to be able to take all of those things and bring it over. And one thing that I did notice with a lot of parents is that when they switch from state to state, let's say they switch to improve the child's quality of life, because honestly, the quality of life here, yes, I make a good amount of money. However, the quality of life here is not. I feel like you get more for your money in New Jersey, if that makes any sense, and it's just better for me. I mean, the
Hey, I'm
people
a
that love
Jersey
New
girl.
York, if the
I'm a
people that
brown
love New
Jersey girl.
York, cool, whatever. But I can't. I'm already 40. I can't do this like rat
I
race thing
know.
anymore.
I
It's a
know.
lot. But
Listen, I I
yeah.
think I think every family has their individual, support group, but it's also understanding what sets your children on the right path and the right
Mm-hmm.
means. And I find that, New Jersey, and this is documented, it's, they do rank top in healthcare
They
and
do.
in their investment in children in the public school system. It just depends where you land. You have to do
Mm-hmm.
your homework, right? Like everything, and that's one of the reasons why, my next move is always, very, on purpose, right? I know this is middle school now. He needs this kind of network because
Mm-hmm.
he's mainstream. He doesn't have to do any special education. He has an accommodation, but it has to be a school network where he can go to a gifted and talented program where he has a behavioral, I can't even say it, behavioralist, I can say,
Mm-hmm.
and things of the sort. But I just feel like here we do have a little bit slower pace. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Of course. 100%. Especially with the news yesterday, they were like, "Oh, somebody got shot on the train." I'm like, "What? No way." You would
I know
think, because when I came from
it's
DR, I was
scary.
what? Like I was 2 years old. I was two, not even two, like one and something. You would think that
Right.
after all this time, I would be like, "Whoop, so de nada." I was so shocked, and I was like, "Oh no, I cannot do this."
I know. And let me ask you something. Talking about, does your son like because it's like my son is mostly like, he's kind of like we can bring him everywhere. That's not a problem. But I understand that some children, are afraid of noise, large crowds and stuff like that. And I find like, that's one of the things about the city. It's noisy at times. And my son does better than me. I come back home and I need like to like curl
You're
and
like,
go into like
I need to
safe
like
space.
isolate.
Yeah. Like I'm overwhelmed. I'm the one that's overwhelmed and
No,
overloaded.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's stressful for me. He's so used to it. Like he takes the train like nothing. I mean, it wasn't always the case because when he was little,
Yeah.
it was a lot. But
Yeah.
he has gotten I feel like a little bit more desensitized, and he actually likes taking the train. I am not such a
Good.
fan anymore,
Good.
but
Yeah.
if we do have to go somewhere on train or bus or whatever, he's okay with it. But he's
Mm.
a bougie little boy. He tells me like when we're gonna take the train or the bus, he's like, "Can we take a taxi?"
Of
Can we call
course,
an
they
Uber?
always want a taxi. They always want door to door.
He's like, can we
It's like,
take
are
an
we
Uber?
walking? I know. Are we walking? I'm like, yeah, we're going to the city. So yeah, I totally sympathize. And what was I going to say? So your son is 14, right? So you have a
15, he
teen.
just turned 15. He's
Oh,
15.
so,
He's the second year of high school.
and how's that? Have you noticed any changes as
I
he gets
I
older?
feel like
Anything?
today, for example, when he came home, because like, so we, Comadres, we had already scheduled the appointment, and I came home from work, whatever. I got a call from the respite worker, and she's telling me that he seemed upset, and I'm like, what's going on? So he's like yelling and crying, and like she was saying he was hyperventilating, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what could have happened?
Right.
Because the earlier today, I actually got I posted a video that I got a message from one of his the supervisor from the for the of the teachers. She's like, oh my god, look, from P, and he was playing golf earlier. And I'm like, wow, that's so cool. And then, to hear that he came home and he's upset, and I'm like, ¿qué puede pasar? What could have happened? I feel
Right.
like
Right.
now, as he's gotten older, there's more big feelings that he doesn't know how to express it just yet. So it comes out as frustration. And he
Yeah.
doesn't take it out on anybody. It's just like teaching him how to self-regulate. And I feel like as a teenager, I remember having a lot of big feelings, but I had the means of like communication. He
You had the
can
coping,
communicate, yeah,
coping.
he can
Yeah.
communicate, but however, it's just I feel like he doesn't have the words yet to like fully frame what he's feeling
Right.
in that moment. But I feel
Right.
like that's a big difference. I feel like my fourth graders are a little bit more, como te digo, the fourth graders are a little bit more expressive, and they can tell me exactly how they feel, but they're
Yeah.
neurotypical children. So it's a little bit
Yeah.
different, but
It's different.
we're navigating as best as we can.
Right. And you know what? The important thing is that he keeps learning, or you guys keep finding ways to help him express himself. Does he use any devices, electronic devices to speak or to express himself, or
Oh,
he's fully
he's
verbal?
fully verbal. So at one point he had lost all his words, and then after he learned how to talk, he hasn't gone back. Like he's
Oh, good for
just like
good.
he started talking, and then like around 18 months he lost all his words, and then through
Okay.
the therapy and the early intervention and everything, now I have to tell him to, papi, please give me a break, can we be
I
quiet for a
know.
little bit? And I
I know.
feel bad because I know there's parents that don't ever get to hear their child like
I know.
speak or like be
True.
verbal,
True.
and their children are not speaking. So I feel very, very privileged. However, it's still two
Indeed.
things can be true at the same time. You can need a break from your child talking all the time, and also be
Let's
very
be
grateful.
honest. Let's
Yeah.
be honest. Like I love you. I don't, like, regardless of your abilities, I love you, but I need my quiet time, you know? And that's normal. I just feel like, it's so important what you said, because, regression and then finding their words, and then, milestones or just accomplishing whatever on their own terms.
Hmm.
It's so personal and so individual that, I like when people ask me about my experience, I'm like, as long as you understand it's my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I can't speak for anybody else, and I won't speak for my son
Yeah.
because he's able to express for how he feels. So I think that's also another reason why I wanted to connect with you, because I also see how, you are letting your son's personality be,
Yeah.
how he's able to, and there was a show that he was watching that my son used to watch a lot. What was that? Gabba Gabba Gabba?
Yoga Bagava. Yeah. He's
Oh my God. He
todavía
used to
like to
watch
this
that.
day, and this is something he used to watch when he was. I think Nick Jr. was like a thing when he was like 2 or 3 years old, and he used to watch it all.
Yeah.
Pero todavía he has these days that he wakes up and all he wants to watch is Yoga Bagaba. Y yo lo dejo. I mean, I'm not, who am I to tell him that's immature, or
Right.
that's like, you don't need to be watching that. You need to be watching shows with real people in it. If he doesn't relate to it, he doesn't relate to it. It's like
Perfect.
if you try to
Yep.
make me read what kind of books I'm not really into. Um, like biographies about certain people. I'm like, como que
It
it
could be the
doesn't.
bestseller, right? It could be the bestseller, pero
And
si
if
tú
I
no
don't
te
relate to
gusta,
that
no te
person,
gusta.
yeah, es lo mismo como con la comida. Like there's certain foods that you love and there's some foods that you don't love. Everything's
I know.
a thing about preference and like the things that you like. What you if you
Yeah.
like what you like. So I let him have his days and I try to put him onto different things. He actually likes Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings because of me.
Ah, so that now like you like puppy, let's go watch Lord of the Rings again.
and and
But it's
and, and
because you
he's
like
like
it.
he's like yeah mom, let's watch it. And then one thing that he does now, which is I find this hilarious, so I'm like, Aiden, do you like Harry Potter or whatever, right? And he was like, I love Harry Potter, and he puts on like a British accent. I find this the funniest thing ever because he's very so his thing, he still does a lot of echolalic speech, even though now he's speaking more independently and formulating his own sentences. But at first, when he first started speaking, it was a lot of repetition of things he heard in cartoons. But he would
That
always
was
use
the
it.
telltale for my son when he was younger. He was the ecolalia,
Yeah,
repeating. Yep.
He would use it in context though, like a lot of the times. So which was funny because like I would think like why is he saying that, and then I would have to like play detective and figure out what it was that he was trying to say at the time. But it's been a journey, and I do love like letting him just letting his personality shine because now he does like these little videos. I'll send you a couple that he does like voiceovers.
Oh,
He'll watch
wow.
the cartoon and he'll put another audio of another cartoon, or he memorizes the full cartoon and he'll say it himself and record the
So he
video
does
again.
scripting.
He does
He's
a lot of
listening to scripting.
he
Yep,
likes the
yep, yep.
scripting, but he likes dubbing also. So he'll record a video with the audio of something else, but the situations like it matches.
See? So that's what I'm talking about. He's got a wonderful personality, ways to be creative, and that's what I'm saying. That's the beauty of the spectrum, right? Um, it lets people be without the stressor of
Yeah,
judgment, right? I love it.
that's the
I
biggest
love
thing.
it.
But I love the work that you're doing and the with Autism New Jersey. Actually, I can't wait to like connect with them and see like how we can collaborate as well, and although also like put other moms on because I feel I have a lot of comadres that are from Jersey, but they don't know about these type of community associations that they can work with as well.
Right, right. And that's why I've done some info session at local libraries and I pass on a lot of information as well. And whatever literature they send me, I leave at the library, or at the schools. I also work a lot with my son's school. They've been great, also, very receptive. And I just don't stop it's not like an April thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
a lifelong commitment to
Mm-hmm.
educating, especially, like you said, mothers, right? We have so much, right, going on. Like, I have an older son as well, and I have a family. I have aging parents. I have a lot of things going on. But one thing that I do make sure is to be on the lookout, even at work. Like, I work around, software engineers, developers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are on the spectrum. Some of them are, they need they do a like body peering where they have a developer with a younger, person that comes in and
Mm-hmm.
is a gifted, developer, coder, or whatever it is. And I'm like the mother goose. They love being around me. So it's like, I just like it. And so, we do have book clubs at work. And so we're going to be diving into the book club, and talking about, Frijolito, Jake and Frijolito. And, it's amazing how, like, they've come around me. Like, they
Yeah,
are embracing me because they're like, wait a minute, this lady, she gets us, right?
yeah,
So, because I'm talking, my son is a gamer. He's like, he's funny as
mm-hmm.
well, and I'm not taking a perspective of like a sub story. I want it to be like happy story
Yeah,
because, there could be witty. And so I want to be able to make sure that people don't, like, when I say autism, they don't go, oh, that's
yeah,
not it. That's not in my case. So that's my experience. And that's why I think it's good to volunteer so you can see the whole world out there,
Mm-hmm.
and count your blessings.
One of my favorite things to do is that when I take him to activities, like really just talk to other moms and see
Yeah,
what their perspective is and like what their life is like, because like you said, it's a spectrum. So not my experience and your experience is not the same as everybody else. And another thing that people, I don't know, people, I feel like as humans we try to just put everything into a little box
yeah,
and
yep,
just categorize something, and if it's not this, then no, it's not that. And
right.
that's not how autism works. Autism is as individual as we are as humans. So
Yeah,
no two people are the same. The same thing goes for autistic people. You know one person with autism story, you just know one person with autism story.
yes, that is correct. And that's my mantra. And that's what they teach us, right? As parents, advocates as well, so that we also don't, push our agenda or our, just like
Perspective.
in life, you have to learn to be tolerant, to
Mm-hmm.
listen, to be receptive, and to, to be kind.
I
I
love
think
that.
that's very important. Not everybody has the same processing speed.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've become more kind with adults as well, because I as a teacher have so much patience for my students. I'm like, they
Which is so
don't know
commendable,
any better.
commendable.
I like, they don't know any better. They're just babies, right? But our autistic kids are growing up to be adults. So I see everybody through a different lens now. And I
Yes.
feel like I become more tolerant, because I'm gonna be honest, I was the one to be like, oh, this person's so annoying, right? But now I see it in a different lens. Not that I think that everybody's autistic. That's not the case. But everybody has something else going on, and we have to
Yes.
operate from a
Yeah.
place of love, that we see everybody like as a whole.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even if somebody's a like not a nice person, something caused that person to become that way. And I'm not saying you're gonna be their best
That's the
friend.
psychology, right? Psychology. We gotta be able to remember that we are the product of unskilled, sometimes parenting. Most of us
Yeah.
are not skilled to be parents. We
Yeah.
learn to be parents by being and doing. So,
Yes.
some of us will be better than others. Some will fail, and some of us will keep trying.
Yeah.
Parenting is it's just a matter of, it's individual.
But yeah,
So, yeah,
definitely looking at people with more compassion, especially after practicing yoga and all these things that I do. It's like, seeing
good.
people for taking them how they are, and just like taking them at face value. It's not just like having more compassion in general. I don't know how to explain it, but like it has changed my perspective. And then I feel like myself, I feel more at peace. Like I
Good.
don't get as bothered by different people, if that makes any sense. But oh my goodness. So tell me, I love the story that you shared with me. I want you to share with the comadres about how did you become inspired to write?
Sure. So I'm gonna give you a little anecdote. I must have been like 2, 3 when I will find myself in this like escuelita particular.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just felt like I've always known how to read, and both my boys are hyperlexic, just like me. I learned how to read, taught myself how to read. I must have been 3. My youngest same. So my mom had no choice than to bring me to like a private tutor
Mm-hmm.
because that's all I wanted to do, read, write. And I had like a blackboard and color chalks, and I would learn words and I would just recite words and
Mm-hmm.
then I would write them. And so anyone that knew me as a kid knows that writing and storytelling, I used to have some time to create these other worlds, and in my head and torture my sisters, with we used to have funny you should say we used to have like a make believe comadre session. Las comadres, la comadrita, la comadrona. So we used to sing that and make and put on clothes, like my mom clothes or, things like that, and make believe that we were like viejas, like gossiping and stuff like that. Yeah. And so I would throw words in there, right? But I always like went back to that blackboard because I wanted to see myself writing.
Yeah.
So I've written since I can remember. I've blogged. I've written schools newsletters, a college newsletter, a work training material. I've done a lot of training, technical training material. I think by writing, I bring peace to my mind. So the creativity, my inspiration is because it soothes me, and that's my stimming. That internally, my hair, is what helps me write. And the inspiration is totally my youngest son and his experience and his journey, and seeing how, he's overcome all this stuff. And, he's totally cool playing basketball, and, he's just one of the kids,
Yeah.
I love it. He's not pigeonholed. He's not stereotyped. He can advocate for himself. And, I'll continue to write so I can continue to break, down and strip stereotypes.
I love that. What was I gonna say? Aiden is also hyperlexic as well. So for the people that don't know what hyperlexic means, is that the children can read anything. Aiden can read college level things. Does he have the comprehension? Not yet. However, he's been like that ever since he was a little boy as well. And I feel like he one thing that he would love to do, especially when he was super upset, was reading books and reading stories, and that would help him calm down. Another thing was a lot of singing, like Oh McDonald's, and then the Old McDonald always turned into like a zoo because he always requested different animals that were not on the farm, but he just found it really funny. He's like, now Old McDonald had a zebra. I was like, I don't know what sound a zebra makes. I'm
But
sorry.
that's his creative streak. He's creating his own script. He's scripting and creating his own script. Like, my son always had these all educational shows he watched, and he's always drawn to letters and numbers. So yes, good thing that you define hyperlexic, because it means that they learn how to read, but not necessarily that they comprehend. So that they acquire as they get older. So
Yeah,
that's good.
and it takes a lot of work to help them comprehend and even answer like questions that are more beyond the text, which is something that I find as well with him. So it's been a lot of work to get him up to speed. But I wanted you to tell them about the story about your grandfather, how he used to always walk around with a 3-piece suit, and he would write the speeches for the people in the town over there.
Yeah, so su nombre era Ramón Cepeda, and that was my father's father. And the word is that that's what he did. He wrote speeches. He worked for the city hall, and so did my dad. And so, I will always see Abuelo, like, in el parque. Like, he was sitting, he had his 3-piece suit, his hat sideways, and he had what do you call that? Suspenders. And so, so the guy was always fly, right? And he had this, like, his verbal was so advanced, right? But he was always reading the newspaper, and if he wasn't reading the newspaper, you saw him writing on his notepad. So then I said to myself, I don't know the man. I barely know, like, I would pass by him, maybe he didn't know me. Because it's a big family. There was a lot of grandkids, and I didn't really have a relationship with him. He was mostly like, his parents were, like, my grandmother and him had not lived together for a long time. So, he had like 10 kids. You know how it is in the DR. So, like, I appreciate that. Although I didn't really have a relationship with him like that, he passed down to me the passion for the written word. And so, and my dad also, like, he's always liked, he will, on Sundays, he will put it to record our own voices and whatever we wanted. So, he was like a, un telelocutor, things like that. So yeah, it was fun. So I think, all my grandparents, and especially my great grandmother, their entrepreneurship built me, because they who I am today is because each of them taught me something very unique, which is independence, financial responsibility, budgeting for large families on little, and living within your means. That's something that I don't know how to explain it. It's gotten me out of trouble a lot.
I love that.
Yeah, where, like, even if I was unemployed, I've never been without anything, thank God, because I've learned to adjust.
I love that. So I was going to ask you, you've written so much throughout your whole life. So what made you decide to write a children's book? I know you said that your son has inspired you so much and telling his story, but like what inspired JJ and Frijolito?
Well, one thing I remember when I was a kid, I read Charlotte's Web, and that book was about a mother and most of these spiders that fled and
Mm-hmm.
left, right? And Wilbur the pig. And I identify because my grandmother raised pigs and piglets. And so ever since I was a little girl, animals helped me, like, cope with things.
Yeah.
And so I said, why not talk to young adults and children about the beautiful world of animals, right? So in the book, I have, the dog, I have, parakeet, you can be it's Dominican without, sabe, el cotorro, and el gato, all that kind of stuff. And I think the reason I wrote it for young adults is because I also want, um, young people to understand that we all the same, and we
Mm-hmm.
have to start somewhere, right? And I think when you're like a preteen, it's
Mm-hmm.
where things get rough in middle school, and
Yes.
so people kids start bullying each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said I'm gonna start with this book, and then I'm gonna do like chapter books. I had the great also opportunity to attend a virtual creative writing by my editor, Professor Elidio La Torre Lagares, who is a great writer as well. And so in that class, I said, you know what? I have to bring Frijolito out of the glaring screens on my computer, because I started sharing it in the class, and he says this is great, right? So in a way, Frijolito is also labor of love, and something that started years ago in his class. And so being able to conclude everything and reach young people, I think is important. So that's why I wrote it. I wanted to be able to reach young people, to be at that point in their lives when they can say, you know what, I can do better. I
Mm-hmm.
can be better. I don't have to exclude. I just have to embrace, people of all abilities. So that's why I wrote it.
I love that. One thing that I do want to point out is that our kids are now born hating or disliking people that are different than them. Us as parents, especially when they're little, and our children are neurotypical, if you find a child with a disability, even Aiden now, like he sometimes, we're out and he sees somebody with a physical disability, he's like, "Mommy, what happened to their arm?" Right? So
Right.
instead of saying like, no, don't look at them, don't say anything, I have
Mm-hmm.
him like speak to them because he's very curious. He's very
Right.
he's a very empathetic child. So having conversations, because the thing is, like, I feel like as parents a lot of the time we want to shield our children from the not so pleasant things of the world, but we actually create something like stigmas around certain things and
Yeah.
certain people. So it's, I feel
Yep.
like doing like writing books like this to expose our children is so important, especially the children that don't necessarily get that. That was my son in the background.
That was awesome.
So especially children that don't get that at home,
Yeah.
creating inclusion via literature is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I also want to just keep emphasizing is what you just said. We're not born with any bias at all, right? We acquire and then we mirror the adults in our lives
Mm-hmm.
and how they behave. And it's one of the reasons why, like for me growing up in a family, my family was not perfect, there's all kinds of problems. And like you were talking about, seeking therapy, if that's important. And I just wish that more people had the opportunity to have someone to help them
Mm-hmm.
at that, pivotal age, because it really makes or breaks you, right? If you are around people that are going to build you up
Mm-hmm.
and, can give you unconditional love, your chances of overcoming are so much higher. you
Mm.
know. But if you are surrounded by people that just give up and they just say, you know what, you know, he's a crippled, God forbid, or, he's autistic, things like I hear that all the time when kids are playing. And I just feel like, how can we be raising children to be so insensitive,
Insensitive.
right? And then one thing I want to say is disabilities are not all, visual or
Yeah, visible.
something that we can perceive. Like I know that I've struggled all my life with, comprehension and things of the sort. And, no one will think about it because I always did great in school.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then if you see someone that has a physical disability, then they're saying, oh, he can't comprehend because he's disabled.
Mm-hmm.
We got to stop thinking like that.
Yeah.
Not all disabilities are visible.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
another thing is like, what is it? Non-speaking does not mean that they don't understand, that they can't, comprehend
Or
what's
have
going on
feelings.
around them, or that they don't
Yeah.
have feelings. So
Yeah.
one thing that the teachers, they get a lot of teacher training, but there's other trainings about being wary about the way you express yourself about students. Not
Yeah.
necessarily that teachers are bad, it's just that we have all these biases, right, that we come in with. So we need to
Yeah.
be more cognizant about the ways that we express ourselves, especially when the children are not speaking. Because even though they're not speaking, they understand everything and they can read you like
and then
nobody's
and then
business.
they'll mimic, right? So that's another thing, mimicking. That's very, very frequently a trait of young people on the spectrum, mimicking.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it probably is not the best behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so, all that. So we have to be sensitive. And this is where I am bringing the theme of commonalities, of
Mm-hmm.
common threads. We all have, you know, ways to, where we're flawed or where we are not doing something right. And so we have to be able to catch ourselves. But that's not just for people with disabilities. I
Mm-hmm.
think as a neurotypical person, I've made all those mistakes. And as I've gotten older, and become more sensitive, like you said before, I give people grace. I approach people. I want to learn. I
Mm-hmm.
want them to tell me. And so by, allowing our children also to experience, normalizing people with different abilities, I think is where we can succeed. We
I
can,
agree.
do it better.
I love that. So, I was gonna ask you, do you remember I love asking this question. Do you remember the first time that you picked up a book and you felt like it was a mirror to your life or to your experience, or that you saw
Yes.
yourself somehow reflected in that book?
So I can't say like 100%, but what actually I have discovered is that, books like, Clap When You Land is one of my favorites. Anything Julia Alvarez, I like. Elizabeth, Isabel Allende. I think any book that portrays strong women.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I'm drawn to family with conflict that know how to resolve conflict, and that conflict is resolved by uniting, women. And so, when I pick a book, it's mostly something that's like has some kind of historical component,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I can relate to. And women that, like, I want to hear names, like, nombre de mujeres que yo conozco,
Mm-hmm.
Marcy, I don't know, names that we use, that sometimes, in more Anglo-Saxon environments you don't see or hear.
Yeah.
So identity, yes,
Yeah.
I have picked up books where I feel some type of identity, and I will continue to do that because I think it's important because I'm also supporting our writers,
Mm-hmm.
Latinas or Latinos, Dominicanos, Caribeños. It's very important because we have a very distinct way of expressing ourselves, right?
Yes.
We are very passionate people. So, and somos bien gracioso.
Yeah.
We like somos bien chistoso. So I think, I feel that depending on what mood I'm in, I'll find more books that I can identify with. But some other times I just I don't find anything, and I want to support, but I gotta be honest too. I maybe I can't.
So, some like if you like Elizabeth Acevedo, I love her for like forever. But one of the ones that I really liked was, besides Clap on the Plain Lands, is also with the Fire on High.
I
Um,
haven't read that yet. So,
it mirrors very much like a, como say, like a Dominican New York perspective, and like she's the first of her family to travel abroad. It's a lot of nuances, and it's a very good young adult novel as well.
oh,
But
I want to try that one.
yeah, I love her. Pero yeah. So you told me that the favorite book you've written thus far is JJ and Frijolito.
The one that I've my favorite book.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I gotta say that because it's my book, but favorite books, oh my God, I got so many. I'm gonna tell you one that touches my heart is this one, La Sombra del Viento,
Okay.
The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. The opening in my book, and can I read in Spanish?
Yeah.
Okay, so the opening in my book is something, and I'll read in Spanish and in English real quick. Spanish because that's the language I was born with. So I'll read that quickly in English for anyone that may need it, because this is very important to me. Identifying a book that touches your soul. So he says, every book, every volume you see here has a soul. The soul of the person who wrote it and of those who read it and lived and dreamed about it. Every time a book changes hands, every time someone runs his eyes down its pages, its spirit grows and strengthens. And this is a quote from La Sombra del Viento, or The Shadow of the Wind, as the young Daniel is taken to a library of forgotten books.
Oh
His
wow.
father brings him there because Daniel is beginning to forget his mother who passed away. And so his father brings him to the bookstore and he says, pick a book, and he says, because as long as you remember the soul of who wrote it, or the soul of the person that touched you, you won't forget them.
Wow.
So that's called The Cemetery of the Forgotten Books. And so I just, that was my inspiration. So that's why Frijolito and Jay is one of my inspiration, because it also comes from that book that I just adore. And by the way, that's why I named my son Julian, because the
Oh,
main character's
because
name
of
is
the main
Julian.
character.
Yeah.
I love that. So I wanted to ask you, what are there any new projects that are coming in 2024?
So my project, Marcy, is to get the word out. I want to be able to, go to schools, read my book. I'm not so much into like, I'm gonna make money out of this, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm more of what's the purpose and what's the goal. The goal is to just, bring people together, break down these stereotypes and, have fun. So maybe I will put out like, perhaps I want to do a color and hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm also working on the second book. I'm writing it
Mm-hmm.
and I'm receiving feedback from people. So what I'm doing is I'm asking whoever reads it to tell me anything, what would you like to see? What didn't I do right? Because obviously there's a lot of holes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be able to learn from this experience and come back stronger. So my project for 2024 is to grow, to take Frijolito places and to, bring JJ into the world, because JJ is just any other child.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So
Yeah.
I love that. I can't wait to read the book. I'm so excited. So I know that you have a live with Dominican writers on
Yes.
March
On the
27th.
27th. Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna be inviting the comadres. Make sure that you tune in. Set an
Thank you.
alarm. Register. Not register. I think she has like a link or
It's a
something
live
that.
on IG. Yeah.
Yeah, but usually when they have an event like that, if you set it up, there's a way. I'm gonna ask Angie if she has that. But just set an alarm and just remind yourself, and tune in, and also obviously share this podcast with other people. Where can people buy your book?
They can buy it on Amazon. I'm currently working on my website as well to enable the website to, to buy it from the website.
Mm-hmm.
And, if anybody want me to, autograph it or dedicate it to anybody, obviously, I'm working towards that goal as well, which is another goal 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Make my website pop.
Mm-hmm.
So they can go to Amazon, Kindle Unlimited, or just paperback in both English and Spanish.
Sounds good. All right. And I'm going to end the episode here. I want to thank you so much, Victoria, for coming on the show, for sharing your story, and for being such an amazing representation of an autism mom, of a Dominicana, and of an immigrant as well. Like, I love that you have been able to share your story and that you have been able to touch the lives of so many people around you in a positive way.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Hola, comadres. And, I'm just touched, I'm proud of, the work you're doing, proud of the work that, our community is doing to get ourselves out of this, stereotypical Dominicans are this and that. I think we're so varied and we have so many stories to tell. Don't be afraid. I have my own, LLC, Miramar VC Books. If you want to tell your story, let me know. I can help.
Perfect. All right, comadres, I'm going to end the episode how I usually end it, which is follow me at Comadreando Pod. And you can follow Victoria on Instagram. Can you please drop your handle, Victoria?
Two handles. It's JJ and Frijolito and Vic_713.
Perfect. Okay, and if you have any questions for me or Vicky, please make sure to send me a Comadre-Gram via email at marcy@comadreandopod.com or slide up into my DMs. Please visit our website, www.comadreandopod.com, to read our latest blog posts, find out about future events, and get your official Comadre merch. Thank you for spending time with your comadres. Bye.